Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Evelyn Linwood and I am a fantasy author, soon to be publishing my debut. So at the end of the last writing vlog, I had just finished what's mostly my final edit of that debut novel. Since then, I haven't been doing very much writing, just sort of piecemeal things, a little bit of professional development. I am working on the outline for the sequel, which I'm not an outliner, but I like to have just a little bit before I start. And I'm not quite ready to start drafting, but I think I will be soon. So instead of a traditional writing vlog this week, I thought I would run through and do a little bit of a tutorial of the formatting software I have. I know that Vellum is probably a little bit more popular, but I went with the cheaper option. So I have Atticus, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my screen in the video, and I will run through all of the features and how to use them. And I won't tell you like which ones you should use because it's different by genre. It's different depending what you're trying to do. Some people want to mimic traditional. Some people want to do their own thing. So I will just show the features and what the options are and sort of give a basic general tutorial-ish for using Atticus. Overall, I'm actually really happy with the software. I want Vellum eventually, maybe, but I'm happy using it for my first novel. Probably for both books in the duology. It is good for basic formatting. If you have tons of images, tons of like fancy features you want to use, either I'm not good enough with it or you might pick a different software. I know Drafted Digital has one that they let people use for free. You don't have to be using them as a distributor, last I knew. Don't quote me. And then Vellum is the most common alternative. The one thing is Vellum is for Mac only, or I think you can use it with like a Mac emulator. So when I got Atticus, I had a PC, but I've actually switched to Mac, so I'll probably make the change eventually. And after that long and rambling introduction, let's move on to the tutorial. Sorry, guys. Here we are on Atticus. It's the program with the little dog. You have the option to upload a book, start a new book, or create a new box set. I'll run through all three, but let's start with uploading a book. You can click and search through your files, or you can drag and drop. I chose drag and drop so that you can't see my files. So you put in your book title, your pen name, and then a project name. I have never put a project name. I don't actually know what that does. I think it's just for sorting through your files. As for subtitle, I would use this with caution. I know Amazon, at least, last I checked, if you have a subtitle, it has to appear on your book cover. And then publisher details, again, try and make this match what they actually are. I don't know that it actually appears anywhere when you upload your book, but it's just best to match. And you can upload your book cover right here, but if you're uploading to some of the publishers have a place for you to upload your cover, so it might appear twice if you do that. And some authors like to do that, but it's just up to you. So the text I'm using here is just sample text from Cicero that's commonly used so that we have text, but it's easily ignorable. And you can see Atticus generates a title page for you. If you click the formatting tab at the top, you'll see what that looks like. And it is possible to personalize it. They also generate a copyright page and a table of contents. The copyright page is a little bit short. It's functional, but a lot of authors choose to add something about not using their book to train AI, and something about characters, places, and events being fictional. Don't copy what I have here. Don't take my advice on what to put on your copyright page. Please do your own research. I do not have legal expertise here. It's just what I've seen other authors doing. So your table of contents is functional in, like, when you upload an ebook and publish it, your table of contents, if you use Atticus, should be clickable. At least for the ebook. And you can make it so that your subtitles appear. I don't really know what the list subheads thing is. I've never used that function. Atticus does actually have a lot of features, and I will kind of go through at the top and show you what all of the buttons up there represent. And some of these are familiar and some of these are kind of special. So the split chapter thing, I clicked on it. It splits it wherever your cursor was. So you can split it in the middle of a sentence if you want to. But this is especially useful when you upload a book. If you didn't format it in the way that Atticus prefers, which I believe is 20-point font for titles, for chapter titles, you can go through and you can split at the chapters. It really doesn't take very long. I've done it many times for other authors. And you can also add in, I've just demonstrated there, you can add in scene breaks for your scene breaks didn't upload properly. You can go in and change that, no problem. And again, that's customizable. They don't have to be the 3 little dots. And I've split the chapter here again. Say you have an about the author page and you don't want it to have the number as if it was, chapter 27 or something. You can do that, and then it appears on your table of contents without the little number. You can actually get rid of the number for any of them. So if you just don't want numbers on your table of contents, more power to you, just remove them. And you would have to do that, I believe, manually per chapter, but it shouldn't take too long. Now you see me clicking back and forth here at the top between the writing and the formatting tab. Whatever we do in the writing tab, we can then go see a sample of in the formatting. And the first thing I'm going to demonstrate is the various heading styles. So if you highlight only part of it, it will change your whole paragraph. And you can personalize what those heading styles look like, but it's a good way to add in like letters, newspaper articles, whatever it is that you want your characters to be dealing with. It just gives you more variety. You can add a page break as well. Page breaks you can't see on the preview, but I believe if you download like a PDF version, it will push all of your text to the next page. So if the page break happens like at the top of a page, you'll have a whole bunch of blank text. Some people like to add them at the end of a chapter, but it's just up to you. And you can insert links in your document. If you choose to do that, it can be really helpful for your back matter. Like you can link to your next book. Although be careful here again, because you don't want to use a vendor specific link in a book that's going wide unless you make different copies with different links, because vendors don't like that. And this is, I'm showing you the various options up here. So that one was the call out box. Now this is what it'll look like if you choose to make something a text message. And you can change whether you want it to look like which kind of phone. And then you can also do block quotes, which I will show you what that looks like here. And that's useful for lots of things. They show up in fiction all the time. Verse, maybe you have a poem in your book, or again, newspaper articles, whatever. It just depends what you want to do with your specific book. And then this one, you'll see that I didn't have any space between the paragraphs, so I can go back in and just add a space. And it's convenient for all sorts of things. But let's say we want to remove that. It's no big deal. You just highlight it and click back on the thing you did, or you can hit the undo button. But if you'll see, once you switch tabs between the writing and formatting tab, you can't use undo to remove your changes. So you have to do it manually. Yeah, so let us explore the theme, because you can customize all of your themes. So these are just the generic ones that they offer us, and then we can go in and change it. I picked this one with the pretty little interesting chapter picture, and we will go in and edit as new theme. I did highlight, you can save them as your favorite if you want them to appear at the top. But here we have the options for the ways to make your chapters appear. You can number them, you can remove the title altogether. You can change the size of the font, where the font is on the page, like centered, left, right. Width percentage, I don't know what that does. I've never messed with it. I think it has something to do with printing. Yeah. And then the chapter image, you can remove, or you can change like where it is. You can use a different one per chapter, and you can upload your own. Yeah, there's a lot of options. The one I see authors use most commonly is not actually the one that this has. A lot of times they will put like a little image right under the chapter title or right above it instead of through it. Again, margins I don't mess with. I think full bleed these are all print terms, and I'm going to have to do my own research before I format my book for print. Here are the drop cap options. You can have lead in. If you choose every paragraph or following page breaks, if you choose every paragraph following a page break, it'll show up after your scene breaks as well, I believe. You can do indented or spaced for your paragraphs. Indented is more common, but both are valid. You can change the subheadings. Again, this is what I showed you earlier. So I will go back and show you again. So if we click this and say change it into, this is me forgetting where the headings are. let's say we change it to heading 4, and we will go and edit that in our theme. So click the theme, choose edit as new theme, click down to subheadings, and then scroll to heading 4, and we can change the font. Maybe you want that to be like a letter that one of your characters wrote, or maybe you want the character to have large handwriting, or just make it easier to read if it's large. So you can do that, and you can mess with scene breaks as well. I showed you with an image, with no image, with no scene break whatsoever. You can change the size of your scene breaks. Do ignore these. I'm actually going to clip this out. So you can upload your own images, or you can use one of the images that Atticus provides. They do have, I think, 36 or 48 to choose from, and you can change their sizes. Because we have that little science fiction looking thing, I'm going to choose one that I think would look good with it after I show you more of the gallery. The swirly one that's pretty popular with fantasy authors and romance authors. And they do have a fairly wide collection. I have actually seen that little rose and the little flowers in a couple of books that were published. So let's choose one that might look good with science fiction. And I'm going to go with this one because it's a little more subtle than what we had, but it still has the same science fiction vibe. And you can affect where, like, PDF stuff, where your footnotes go and whatnot, but I never do that. And then we have print layout. We have margins, indents, alignment. This is all stuff that if you don't know what you're doing, don't touch it. And for the typography itself, the standard is somewhere between 10 and 12 point font. Personally, I would just leave it on what it has, the line spacing again. There's some variation, but I would just leave it on the 1.6 that it offers. That's fairly standard. And there, you may have seen the option to do large print under typography. And here we have the header format, which does not appear on the ebook preview on the right. This is just solely for the print copy. But you can choose, like, where do you want your numbers to appear, the author name, the title, and you can change the font as well and the size. And again, it does not show up on the preview, but you can download your PDF and take a look at what you have and then change it again. And they do have Open Dyslexic available. I know some people are trying to print things that are easier to read. And then trim size, again, this is for print copies only. I wouldn't mess with it. Atticus does have a little key here. You see these orange and blue squares. It's trying to say what's supported by KDP and what's supported by Ingram. Their squares got a little off center. I'm sure there will be an update to fix it. The Atticus does respond well to feedback, and they do tend to update errors like this, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. You can always Google what trim sizes are supported. And I would go with genre expectations because it is different per genre and per type of book. I do think the smaller trim sizes tend to be cheaper to print, if I remember correctly, but don't quote me on that. So here we can save our theme, or we can delete it. If you save it, it just shows up at the bottom. And here we have our sample project. I saved our theme so that we can apply it to a box set, but you will see here that you can't actually create a box set unless you add more than one book to it. So we're going to start a new book with his sample book 2, same author, and then we let Atticus just generate it, and you'll see that it's blank. Technically, you can write a whole book in Atticus. Most people don't choose to. They use, Scrivener, Google Docs, whatever. But now that we have our sample book, we can create a box set out of the 2 of them, and this will be Sample Box Set. I know, my titles are so clever. By sample author, and you will see when we finish that it will appear down below, but so will your original books, so you don't lose access to them by creating a box set. And it has pretty much the same pages that we had for the first one. Same formatting options, and both books appear in the box set. So you will have separate title pages, copyrights, etc. Just like you would for any box set. And you have the option when you create a book, you can type directly into it, or you can copy and paste. If you choose to copy and paste, match the style, Atticus tends to suggest that copy and pasting is not a good idea with their program, because you can wind up with like little gremlins, or whatever it's called. Scrivener calls them gremlins, but little bits of formatting that you can't see when you're copy and pasting it that just affect the way things show up. So it is best to upload a document because Atticus strips those. Or just type your whole book in Atticus. They do have cloud backups, and I've never lost something I've formatted, but I also don't use Atticus so to write my books, so I don't have things stored there. Yeah, so here you see what I was telling you before. We have sample project, sample 2, and the box set all appear under your recent work. So that's the tutorial. Thank you for joining me and sticking around this long. I know it was a little longer. I hope you found it useful. If you have questions, especially about ebook formatting, please drop them in the comments. I do freelance through Fiverr, and I have been using Atticus for other authors' work for a while. Pretty much with the print copies, I just look it up every time because I always forget and things change. And it's just different per author's opinion. So I wouldn't use me as a resource for print books, for like the margins and bleed and all that stuff. That's something that but if you have ebook questions, drop them below. If there's other formatting software that you think is way better and I should look into, also tell me. I know that there are a lot of free options. You don't actually have to buy a software. I believe Kindle has one. If you happen to be writing in Microsoft Word, I think that you can pretty much format your book there and then upload it somewhere. I think Ingram Spark has one, or maybe it's Drafted Digital. One of them does, possibly both. And then Readsy has one too, but I think I think that one's just free. So there's a lot of options out there. If you like Atticus, I think it's worth the money. I like how responsive they are to customer feedback. They add to their program from time to time. They are working, it's newer, but they are working to get it be what it can be. And I've been happy with it. I've never had a problem with, like, I've never lost work. I've never had any real issues other than, hey, this is a feature I either don't know how to use or that hasn't been added yet. But it's handled everything I've tried pretty well. Yeah. So, again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Most of what you see on this channel will be writing vlogs, but I would like to add occasional helpful videos like this.